I was standing in the lobby of Al-Noor Towers at 2:17 a.m. when my sister laughed loud enough to echo off the marble walls. She said it like a verdict, like she was reading out my failure. "Night janitor," she said, dragging the words slow. I corrected her automatically. "I am a building systems supervisor, certified in HVAC diagnostics, fire suppression auditing and tenant access control. I monitor energy loads, adjust airflow curves and keep this entire tower alive while they sleep." She rolled her eyes like it was a joke. My mother shifted her purse, the one I paid $1,280 for, and sighed like I embarrassed her. My brother leaned on the reception desk, tapping his phone, waiting for me to finish my shift so I could drive them home. They always waited until I was visible, then reminded me what they thought I was. I didn't respond emotionally. I logged the chiller variance in my tablet, noted a 0.7-degree drift and scheduled a recalibration cycle for 3:05. My voice stayed even. "The lobby cameras are recording," I said. "Please keep your voices below 60 decibels. That made them laugh harder. My sister stepped closer, perfume sharp, and said I should be grateful they still claimed me. I calculated the cost of that statement. Rent I covered, utilities I prepaid, their debts I quietly cleared. $8,450, $22 over the last 90 days. They called it help, I called it a pattern, a predictable extraction cycle with no return. I looked at the digital clock above the security desk. 2:19 a.m. Then I looked at you. Have you ever noticed how people only respect systems they don't understand? Because that was the moment I decided to become one. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I stored the data. Their tone, their timing, their dependency. I tagged each interaction like a maintenance log. Date, time, behavioral anomaly. My mother asked if I could transfer another $600 before morning. She said it softly, like a request. It was never a request. It was always an assumption. I opened my banking app not to send money but to review access permissions. Joint accounts, authorized users, auto transfers, all of it mapped cleanly, all of it reversible. My brother clapped my shoulder like I was still useful. That was his mistake. I nodded, closed the app and smiled once. A smile. I was not always the system they leaned on. At 22, I was just the one who said yes faster than anyone else. That was the first mistake. I worked nights even then, different buildings, smaller contracts, less pay. But the pattern had already formed. My mother discovered I could transfer money instantly. My sister learned I didn't argue. My brother realized I fixed problems without asking questions. They called it reliability. I called it training data. The first transfer I remember clearly was $320, $14. A utility bill they forgot to pay. I sent it in under 30 seconds. No hesitation, no conditions. That speed taught them everything. Within 6 months, requests turned into expectations. Expectations turned into scheduled withdrawals, not official ones, behavioral ones. Every Thursday evening, my mother would message me at exactly 7:42 p.m., always the same opening line. "Are you busy?" It was never a question, it was a signal. By the time I replied, she already assumed compliance. The amounts increased gradually. $200 became $480. $480 became $1,050. Each transfer came with a justification. Medical, groceries, emergencies. I verified none of them at first. I trusted the narrative. That was the second mistake. When I finally audited my own outflows, the numbers were precise. $27,913, $67 over 18 months. No repayments, no documentation. Just verbal gratitude and immediate recurrence. My sister added another layer. She used reputation as leverage. She would mention how people asked about me, how embarrassing it was that I worked nights. Then she would pivot, a soft request always tied to urgency. I just need $750 until next week. Next week never arrived. My brother operated differently. He framed everything as investment. Car repairs that led nowhere, business ideas with no records. He spoke confidently but never produced data. I recognized the pattern late, 3 different tactics. Guilt, shame, false opportunity, all converging on the same outcome, extraction. And I enabled it, not emotionally, procedurally. I optimized my own exploitation, set up recurring transfers, linked accounts for faster access, removed friction from their requests. That was the real error. I engineered efficiency into a system designed to drain me. By the time I turned 28, the structure was complete. I covered 82% of household expenses. Rent, electricity, internet, insurance, all routed through accounts I controlled but never restricted. They stopped asking for permission entirely. They assumed permanence. And assumptions are the weakest point in any system. Because assumptions don't get audited. I do. They thought my job ended when the lights went out. That misunderstanding was useful. I had full administrative access to the building's core systems. HVAC zoning, elevator priority routing, fire suppression overrides, tenant access credentials. Each one required layered authentication. Each one logged every action down to the millisecond. I maintained those logs, I optimized them. I could trace a door opening at 03/12:44 and match it to a badge ID, then to a name, then to a billing record. Precision was not optional. It was the baseline. My family never asked what I actually did. They saw a uniform and assumed simplicity. That assumption protected my leverage. While they slept, I calibrated airflow for 42 occupied units. I balanced return ducts to reduce energy waste by 3%. I flagged anomalies before they became failures. Small adjustments, big impact, that was my work. Quiet, measurable, repeatable. The building owner trusted me with vendor accounts, plumbing contractors, electrical teams, security integrators. Each vendor had scoped permissions. I approved invoices. I verified service completion. I rejected discrepancies. Over 12 months, I processed 187 invoices totaling $412,908, $17. Not one error passed through my review. That level of control required discipline. It also created access points. I had administrative rights to the tenant management portal, lease agreements, payment schedules, penalty clauses. Every unit in this tower existed as data first, space second. If a tenant missed a payment, the system generated a notice. If the notice escalated, access could be restricted. Elevators denied entry, parking gates locked, all automated, all legal within contract terms. My family benefited from that access without understanding it. I negotiated their lease under my credentials. Secured a discounted rate. $1,950 reduced to $1,420 monthly. I handled their utility bundling. Internet at 600 Mbps, power averaged at 48 kilowatt-hours daily. All optimized, all billed through accounts I managed. They never saw the backend. They only saw results. Lights on, doors open, bills paid. They assumed stability. They assumed continuity. But systems are built on permissions. Permissions can be modified. I maintained a separate ledger, not emotional, operational. Every dollar transferred to them was categorized. Date, amount, stated purpose, verification status. I marked discrepancies in red. There were many. I also logged my labor hours. Not just shifts but interventions, emergency fixes, off-cycle maintenance, all unpaid overtime. The total value of my unseen labor over 9 months was $19,604. $55, that number mattered. It represented imbalance. They treated my access like a given, like gravity, always there, never questioned. I treated it like infrastructure, and infrastructure can be reconfigured. I reviewed my permissions again at 3:28 a.m. No changes yet, just awareness. Awareness always comes first. The breaking point did not arrive with shouting or spectacle. It came through a notification at 11:06 p.m. while I was recalibrating the building's secondary pump array. The message was from my bank. A scheduled transfer had executed, $1,200. I had not authorized it manually. That detail mattered. I paused the calibration sequence, saved the current pressure values, and opened the transaction log. The transfer originated from an auto rule I created 8 months earlier, a convenience feature, a shortcut. It had just triggered without confirmation. I stood still for a moment, not emotional, just recalculating. That rule was tied to my mother's account. It activated when her balance dropped below $300. The system saw a deficit, it corrected it. Efficient, predictable, unquestioned, that was the problem. I disabled the rule in 12 seconds, then I checked linked permissions. My sister had viewing access. My brother had limited transfer rights through a secondary account I forgot to restrict. That was my oversight. I corrected it immediately, permissions revoked, access logs updated. No alerts triggered on their side, not yet. At 11:14 p.m. my phone rang, my mother. I let it ring twice before answering. Timing matters in conversations like that. Did something happen? She asked. Her tone was controlled, but I could hear the shift. I'm auditing my accounts, I said. Silence, then a soft laugh. She said I was overthinking. She said family doesn't need audits. I disagreed, quietly. I do, I said. She changed tactics. Asked if I could send another $800. Said it was urgent, medical. The word was always medical. I logged the request mentally. No verification, no documentation, pattern consistent. I won't be sending funds tonight, I said. The silence stretched longer this time. Then the pressure came, guilt first. She reminded me of everything she had done for me. Childhood expenses, education, time. I acknowledged it, then I redirected. Those were investments, I said. This is extraction. She didn't like that word. By 11:27 p.m. my sister was messaging me. Rapid texts, accusations. She said I was changing. She said I was being selfish. My brother called twice. I declined both. I didn't engage emotionally. I moved administratively. At 11:32 p.m. I accessed the tenant management portal. Their lease was under my oversight. I reviewed the payment history. 3 late payments. 2 waived penalties, both authorized by me. That ended tonight. I reinstated standard penalty enforcement. Late fee set to $75 per occurrence. Automated. Then I adjusted their utility billing structure. Previously bundled under my master account, I separated it, created an independent billing profile, effective immediately. Their consumption would now route directly to them. No buffer, no delay. At 11:41 p.m. I scheduled a compliance review for their unit, routine on paper, precise in execution. It would trigger documentation requirements. Proof of income, payment consistency, lease adherence, all standard procedures, all previously bypassed. At 11:48 p.m. I closed every open tab. No hesitation. No reversal. I didn't block their numbers. I didn't announce anything. I removed the scaffolding and waited for gravity to do its work. The response was immediate but not organized. That was expected. Systems under stress rarely fail cleanly. They fracture in unpredictable ways. At 12:03 a.m. my sister called again. This time I answered on the first ring. Timing shift signal control. "What did you do?" she asked. No greeting, no context, direct accusation. "I updated account permissions," I said. My tone stayed level. "You cut us off," she said. Her voice carried that sharp edge she used when she wanted to escalate quickly. "I corrected an imbalance," I replied. She laughed, but it wasn't confident. It was reactive. She said I was overreacting. She said I always made things complicated. That word mattered. Complicated, it meant she didn't understand the system anymore. At 12:07 a.m. my brother joined the call, conference mode. His approach was different. Calm, controlled, but layered with implied authority. He said we should talk in person. He said decisions like this shouldn't be made emotionally. I logged the word, emotionally. They always projected that when they lost control. "I made these changes after reviewing data," I said, "not emotion." He pivoted. He said I was risking their stability. That rent was due in 4 days. That utilities were already behind. He framed it as urgency, pressure tactic number 2. "I'm aware of the deadlines," I said, "and you're just going to let us fail?" he asked. I paused for 1 second, not for effect, for accuracy. "I'm allowing the system to reflect reality," I said. Silence again, longer this time. Then my mother entered the call. Her voice was softer than before, controlled damage strategy. She said we should not fight. She said family supports each other. She said I was creating distance. "I am creating boundaries," I said. She shifted immediately, guilt again but heavier this time. She referenced specific moments, school fees, medical bills, nights she stayed awake, each detail selected to trigger obligation. I acknowledged each one, not emotionally, procedurally. "I have accounted for those," I said. "They are logged." That confused her. She asked what I meant. "I track all financial interactions," I said, "including historical ones." That was the first crack. At 12:19 a.m. my sister snapped. She said I was acting like a stranger. She said I thought I was better than them because of my job. I corrected her again. "This is not about status," I said. "This is about structure." My brother tried one last angle, threat, subtle but present. He said if I continued like this, I shouldn't expect them to be there for me in the future. I noted the irony. "That is consistent with current performance," I said. The call ended at 12:24 a.m. not by me. They disconnected. That told me everything. They had no immediate solution. No countermeasure, only pressure, and pressure without leverage is just noise. At 12:31 a.m. I received 3 messages, one from each of them, all variations of the same theme: fix this, send money, call back. I did none of those things. Instead, I opened my ledger again. I reviewed the entries, cross-checked timestamps, verified amounts, ensured accuracy, because escalation is not about reaction. It is about preparation, and they had just entered the next phase without realizing it. I did not respond to their messages the next morning. Silence, when used correctly, is not avoidance, it is pressure redistribution. At 8:12 a.m. I began building the file, not a collection of complaints, a structured report, clean, chronological, verifiable. The kind of document that holds weight outside conversation. I opened my ledger first. Exported 18 months of entries into a CSV file, every transfer categorized. Amount, date, stated purpose, verification status. Then I cross-referenced each entry with bank statements. Transaction IDs matched, no discrepancies, that mattered. Accuracy is credibility. Next, I pulled communication logs, messages from my mother, my sister, my brother. Each request time-stamped, each justification preserved. I filtered keywords. Urgent, medical, just this once. Patterns emerged quickly. repetition without resolution. I flagged those in yellow, then I moved to verification. I contacted 2 hospitals they had mentioned over the past year. I did not accuse. I asked for billing confirmation under their names. Both responses were clear. No records matching the dates provided. That removed the medical layer entirely. I documented that. Source, contact time, response summary. No assumptions, only data. At 9:04 a.m. I accessed the tenant portal again. Pulled their full payment history. Exported late fees, waived penalties, adjusted billing cycles. Over 12 months, I had manually overridden $1,125 in penalties. Each override logged under my credentials. I highlighted those entries. That was direct intervention. Then I added utility consumption, daily averages, monthly totals, cost per kilowatt hour. I compared their usage to the building median. They exceeded it by 18% consistently. That mattered because it contradicted their claims of cutting back. Every claim needed a counterpoint. At 9:37 a.m. I created a summary sheet. Total financial support, $27,913, $67. Total waived penalties, $1,125. Total unpaid reimbursements, $0. Total verified emergencies, $0. The numbers were not emotional, they were definitive. I formatted everything into a clean report. Section headers, bullet points, supporting documents attached. No commentary, no judgment, just structure. Then I added one final section, projection. If current patterns continued, their deficit would reach $6,200 within 60 days. That was based on fixed expenses, average requests, and zero repayment behavior. Conservative estimate. At 10:02 a.m. I converted the file into a PDF, locked it, timestamp embedded. Digital signature applied, not because I needed to. Because it removed doubt. This was not for them, not yet. This was for when they tried to rewrite the narrative, because they always did. Gaslighting depends on ambiguity, and I had just eliminated it. At 10:11 a.m. my phone rang again, my sister. I let it ring. Then my mother, then my brother. 3 calls, 8 minutes apart, predictable. I didn't answer. I reviewed the document one more time. Every number aligned, every claim supported, every gap exposed. The trap was not emotional, it was administrative, and it was already closed. They stopped calling by midday. That shift was not relief, it was strategy. When pressure fails, they change approach. At 3:26 p.m. my mother sent a message. Different tone, softer, controlled. She said we should meet, talk calmly, resolve things as a family. That word again, family. I read the message twice. Not for meaning, for intent. The structure was deliberate. No accusations, no urgency, just an invitation. That was new. I checked the timing. Rent due in 3 days, utilities already separated. Penalties reinstated. They were approaching constraint. This meeting was not reconciliation, it was containment. I replied at 3:31 p.m. Time and location. Keep it simple, remove emotion. Force logistics. She responded within 30 seconds. A restaurant, Al Zahra Cafe, 8:00 p.m. Public setting. That detail mattered. Public spaces create pressure to conform, to appear reasonable, to avoid conflict. They wanted control of the narrative. I accepted. At 7:42 p.m. I arrived early, always early. I chose a table with clear sightlines, entrance visible, minimal background noise. I sat facing the room, back against the wall. Habit. I ordered water, no food. Conversations like this require clarity. They arrived at 8:03 p.m. 3 minutes late. Coordinated, my sister first, then my brother, my mother last. Formation matters, it signals hierarchy. They sat across from me, close enough to feel pressure, far enough to maintain appearance. My mother started, soft voice. measured pace. She said she missed how things used to be. She said we were drifting apart. She said money shouldn't come between family. I listened, no interruption. Then my sister leaned forward. She said I embarrassed them. She said people were asking questions. She said I was making them look unstable. Reputation again, same tactic, different setting. My brother followed. Calm tone, structured argument. He said we needed a plan, a temporary arrangement, just until things stabilized. He used the word temporary 3 times. I noted the repetition. Then they paused, waiting for me to respond. I did not rush. Silence is a tool. It forces them to fill the gap. My mother reached for my hand. I moved mine slightly. Not rejection, not acceptance, just repositioning. I reviewed the data, I said. That changed the air immediately. My sister frowned. My brother leaned back. My mother's hand paused mid-motion. Data, she asked. Yes, I said. Financial, behavioral, historical. My brother tried to interrupt. I continued. Total support over 18 months, $27,913. $67, no repayments, no verified emergencies. My sister shook her head. She said numbers don't tell the whole story. They tell enough, I said. My mother's tone shifted. Less soft now, more controlled. She said I was reducing everything to transactions. She said relationships aren't spreadsheets. I agreed. But patterns are, I said. That was the moment the truth started to fracture. They didn't come for resolution, they came for leverage, and they had none. I did not raise my voice, I did not lean forward. I stayed exactly where I was, hands flat on the table, posture neutral, tone controlled. Public settings reward composure. My brother recovered first. He smiled, but it was thin. He said we should not discuss private matters in public. That was the pivot, containment through discretion. I disagreed. This is already public, I said. Your requests involved third parties, banks, landlords, vendors. That word landed, landlord. My sister shifted in her seat. She looked around, checking who might be listening. That was the first visible crack in her confidence. I opened my tablet, not dramatically, just enough to bring the screen into view. The document was already loaded, indexed, searchable, clean. I prepared a report, I said. My mother's voice tightened. She said this was unnecessary. She said I was taking things too far. I am taking things to completion, I said. Then I began. Section 1. Financial transfers, dates, amounts, stated purposes. I read them aloud, not fast, not slow, just consistent. Each number precise, each claim paired with outcome. No repayment, no verification. My sister interrupted twice, said I was twisting things. I did not respond to her words, I responded to the data. March 14, $950, medical, no hospital record, confirmed at 09:22 a.m. yesterday. Silence. My brother leaned forward. He said I had no right to contact hospitals. I requested billing confirmation, I said. No confidential data accessed. He stopped speaking. Section 2, lease adjustments. I displayed the tenant portal summary. Late fees waived, penalties removed, each override linked to my credentials. $1,125 in waived penalties, I said, reinstated as of last night. My mother inhaled sharply. That was the first emotional break. Section 3, utility consumption. I showed the graph, daily averages, monthly spikes, comparison to building median. You exceed usage by 18%, I said, despite claims of reduction. My sister shook her head again, this time slower, less certain. Then I paused. Look at me for a second. What would you do if every lie you told had a timestamp? Because that was the position they were in. No ambiguity, no reinterpretation, just records. My brother tried one last time. He lowered his voice, leaned closer, and said we could fix this privately. He said there was no need to escalate further. I nodded once. This is the final stage, I said, then I opened the last section. Projection, 60-day deficit, $6,200 based on current patterns, conservative estimate. My mother's hands were shaking now, slightly but visible. My sister looked down at the table, my brother said nothing. I closed the tablet, no dramatic finish, no raised tone, just completion. This is not punishment, I said, this is alignment. No one spoke after that. The noise of the cafe returned slowly. Conversations around us, cutlery, movement, but at our table the system had already shifted, and there was nothing left for them to argue against. The effects began within hours, not days. Systems adjust quickly when artificial support is removed. At 9:12 a.m. The next morning the first notification triggered. Their rent payment failed, insufficient funds. The system logged it automatically and issued a standard notice. No override, no delay. By 9:18 a.m. a late fee was applied. $75, small but symbolic, it marked the transition from exception to rule. At 10:04 a.m. their utility account generated its first independent invoice. $312.67, due in 48 hours, no buffer from my account, no silent coverage, just direct liability. I monitored everything through the tenant dashboard, not obsessively, just methodically. Each event time-stamped, each consequence aligned with existing policy. No intervention required. At 11:26 a.m. my brother attempted a transfer from the secondary account I had restricted. The request failed. Access denied. The system logged the attempt. That told me he was searching for old entry points. There were none left. At 12:02 p.m. my sister sent a message. Short this time. No accusations, just one line. Can you fix this? I did not respond. At 1:17 p.m. my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. She spoke slowly, voice strained, asking me to reconsider. She said things were getting difficult. That word mattered. Difficult. It meant the system was now visible to them. By 2:43 p.m. the landlord compliance review I scheduled initiated. Documentation request sent. Proof of income required within 72 hours. Standard procedure. Previously bypassed. Now enforced. At 4:08 p.m. a second rent attempt failed. Same result. Logged, escalated. The system was not punishing them, it was revealing them. Their financial structure had no redundancy. No reserves, no verified income streams sufficient to cover expenses. Everything had been supplemented, quietly, consistently by me. Remove that layer and the instability surfaced immediately. By evening I received 3 more messages, all different in tone. My sister asked for time. My brother suggested a plan. My mother asked for help, all requests. No accountability. I reviewed them once, then archived them. At 8:56 p.m. I checked the dashboard again. No changes, no payments, no documentation submitted. The system remained in motion. That was the difference between control and dependency. I had built a structure that functioned with or without them. They had built one that only functioned with me. And now, without access, it was collapsing exactly as designed. Not violently, not dramatically, just precisely. I did not attend their follow-up meetings. There were 3 scheduled. I declined all of them without explanation. Silence, again, was sufficient. By the end of the week, their unit was flagged for non-compliance. Documentation incomplete, payments unresolved, status updated accordingly. At 10:22 a.m. on the 7th day, I reviewed the final report. Rent overdue, utilities pending. Compliance window expired, the system escalated to formal notice. Standard timeline, predictable outcome. I did not intervene, not because I lack the ability. Because I removed the obligation. That distinction mattered. For years, I believed responsibility was tied to proximity, that if I was closest to the problem, I was required to solve it. That belief created imbalance. Now the structure was different. Their outcomes were linked to their inputs, directly, no buffer. No correction layer, just cause and effect. At 2:14 p.m. my phone received one final message from my mother. No request this time, just a sentence. "We didn't think you would actually stop." I read it once, then archived it because that was the core of it. They never believed the system could change. They thought access was permanent. Support was guaranteed, that I would continue optimizing their stability regardless of cost. They were wrong. At 3:03 a.m. I returned to the lobby of Al-Noor Towers. Same marble floors, same lighting, same security desk. But the variables had shifted. No one was waiting for me, no one was watching. The building systems ran smoothly, airflow balanced, energy load stable, no anomalies. I checked the chiller variance. 0.2 degrees within tolerance. I logged it, closed the tablet. Then I looked up at the digital clock. 3:05 a.m. Tell me something. What changes in your life the moment you stop fixing what was never yours to carry? I stood there for a second longer, not reflecting, just observing, because the absence of pressure is not emptiness. It is clarity, and for the first time in years everything was operating exactly as it should. No overrides, no hidden costs, just a system, balanced.